That's the glue that sticks all of our stuff together, the fact that school doesn't teach the finance that they need to.
That's why I'd like schools to teach at least basic finance, personal finance. You know, you might not be great at English, you may not be great at whatever it happens to be, but you know, you've got something there. Hang on to that, because that's a little bit different.
The one thing I didn't want to be is normal at school. They're like, wow, this boomer, I know you're technically not a boomer, but that's what they call him on YouTube. Yeah. He's down with the kids. And I think that's quite rare for someone your age to still want to learn, which is great. That was a backhanded compliment. Why don't I just put all my effort and see where this can go? Like, what is the biggest risk on not doing that? Because I can always go back.
Welcome to Entrepreneur's Handbook podcast, where we share inspiring startup stories with practical takeaways for you, the listener. Today's guests are Mark Tilbury and Curtis Tilbury, who earn millions per year through their various businesses. They've built up the Mark Tilbury brand, which has 7 million followers on TikTok, over 1 million followers on YouTube, and hundreds of thousands of followers on other platforms. All of their content is about personal finance and how to strike it big, because they believe so many people have been set up to fail through the school system and through society, and they want to change that. This was a really fun episode to record, and let's get straight onto the show. I normally start this podcast off by saying welcome to Entrepreneur's Handbook, but today is very different, and it's the first time ever I'm recording from my guest's house. So this is a like father, like son set, and I'm with Curtis and Mark Tilbury. Thank you for having me.
Very pleased to have you
Welcome
here.
to our studio.
So it's like me coming to your house and then interrogating you, which is a very strange way of doing it, but hopefully you enjoy it.
It definitely is. Normally the questions are coming from this side of the table, not from that side. So
We're up for the challenge though, aren't we?
Interested to see what you've got.
Yeah. I might flip your own questions back on you as well.
You might.
Yeah. So how we always start off by is asking, what made you get into entrepreneurship in the first place? You've got two very different stories, two very different backgrounds, but there's a common link that shares both of them as well. So let's go with you first, Mark.
Well, mine was very cliche. I used to be the lad at school selling the cans of soda and the sweets and things like that. The thing that was a little bit different was I used to love fishing. So I used to go down to Dover through the summer. Every Saturday morning, used to catch the paper train, which we did for free because we used to jump on it and not pay. And we used to come back, sell the fish, 10 for $1, but not very successful. So we rearranged that selling structure and did 5 for $1. And that worked really, really well because people didn't want 10 fish. It was too many. And from there on, I've never really looked back. I've always looked forward at how other people got on in life and how they managed to do the things they were doing. And for me to do that, I had to really look at starting my own business, and that's what I did. And I haven't looked back since, really. You know, just take the initiative. A little bit different at school, as most entrepreneurs are. I say a little bit dyslexic. I am dyslexic. So you tend to sort out problems a lot more than people that aren't. And there it is. That's how it all started.
Yeah, and the main way you made money was through Model World, right?
Yes.
So for people who don't know what is Model World?
Model World is my shop, and that was eventually up to 3 shops when shops were the thing to have. That's now down to 1 store, but multiple online ways of selling as well. And it's radio controlled models, so model helicopters, cars, planes, big boys toys. You know, that's what it was all about. Very, very popular through the 90s, I'd say, early 2000s. Less so for a little while, but now back in vogue again with brushless powered cars, which are absolutely awesome because we sell model cars that do over 100 mile an hour or up to 100 mile an hour, which is pretty awesome for a small bit of kit, that's for sure. Certainly take your ankle out.
And Curtis, your first business can be any more different to what Mark's was. So tell us about that.
So my entrepreneurship journey started at school as well. We're both dyslexic, so that's something we share in common. The way Dad obviously attacked it was selling products, whereas I was more of a storyteller. I wanted to create videos. So I started YouTube. I got a bit bullied for talking to a camera because back then it was a little bit weird. No one was making any money from YouTube. But then I progressed slowly and my skills got better. People actually got on board with my videos and started supporting me, which then pushed me further into starting a business when I left school and working with different clients. I slowly niched down into the entrepreneurship space after, working with different nightclubs, wedding videos, doing everything you can imagine in the videography space. And now I'm doing something with Dad, which is really cool. So we're merging our skills together, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that in this interview.
Yeah, so you guys were one of the first people to really strike it big on TikTok and to make that account, and you did things very differently. And I think it merged your skills perfectly, right? Where you had the business experience from all the stories from the years that you've been in business. And then Curtis got such vast experience in YouTube and building videos. And what were some of the things you did right at the early stages that really helped you take off?
Well, the main thing that Curtis came up with on the TikTok was the two-person narrative, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where I talk to myself as the different character. And although that's sort of commonplace now, we were the only ones doing that, and it was very unusual. And the other advantage we had, I felt, was that it was basically kids dancing and doing funny things on there, and they'd scroll through and suddenly there's this old bloke talking about money, and it was like, whoa, what's that all about? And they'd watch it again and would get such a good view time, and it just went viral, didn't it? It was amazing.
It was like our 8th video in that went really viral, and I think it's because we had the second mover advantage. There was people on TikTok already, but we really looked at how can we do things differently and improve on what's been done and really tell a story and keep that. The retention's the most important thing on YouTube and TikTok, and it's getting that repeated view that we tried to get. So the first video that went really viral was Dad holding up cars, telling his story with some emotional music in the background, and people were sharing that everywhere, getting so emotional, crying about it, and that really propelled the TikTok to what it is now. And we slowly built on that with the two-person narratives. So yeah, it's been an awesome journey.
People were actually filming themselves watching the video and their emotional reaction to it. It was quite humbling, really. It was very good.
Yeah, and that's only been less than 2 years now, right?
Just on 2 years, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a very explosive growth in such a short period of time. And that's what happens when you get a new platform that has such organic reach. It used to be what Instagram's like, but now that's when paid ads come in, they start to scale that back because obviously they want to make a profit. But TikTok was in that really hyper growth stage. Yeah,
and if the audience isn't aware, they've got 7 million followers on TikTok. So it's when they say hyper growth, they really mean hyper growth. And the topics of a lot of your TikTok is about money, and especially personal finance, the lessons that people don't learn at the school. What made you passionate about that subject? Why did you choose that area to make your videos about?
Well, the main reason, or the catalyst for it starting, was we were on a ski trip, and around the table, I don't know if you've ever been to a chalet, but in a chalet setup, everyone eats together on one table, and you all get chatting, you talk about your day and everything else, and the conversation on 2 evenings got round to business, finance, personal finance and that sort of thing. And it was all being questions asked by, I think it was 4 young lads there that kept firing questions at me. And I think it was 2 hours or so each session of the two. And Curtis turned around to me and said, look, there's something here, because these guys are really interested in what you've got to say. And I was amazed that they're still not learning this stuff at school, which I think is absolutely horrendous, that you're not taught about money at school. And with Curtis's skills on the YouTube and everything, we thought we could tie the two together, which is sort of what we did.
Yeah, back then I remember I was still working for my clients. I was going down every night to the place where there's Wi-Fi. It was like an hour trip just to edit some videos. I think, it'd be so much easier if we could just work together and create videos, on the same topic as I'm working on anyway. So it was just a natural fit.
I think what's really interesting as well about your business is that Curtis is actually the boss, right?
He is.
No one knows that.
Well, actually they do, because I was down the golf club the other day and they said, are you coming for the competition tomorrow? I said, I'll have to ask my son. He said, well, it's your business. And I said, well, actually, we divide the YouTube and social media in such a way that it's Curtis's say on the major decisions, because I'm doing lots of decisions on my other businesses. I said, look, you can't have 2 people fighting for that decision, and so Curtis has the say. So I said, can I have the day off, please? And he often says,
and I said, no. But we enjoy working together, and we needed someone to have the say to actually get things moving. Otherwise, if you have 2 people just battling each other with different ideas, you're not going to get anywhere.
You just end up with a stalemate. And I've often looked at businesses, and I don't like, generally speaking, partnerships in business. Now, some people would say they like it because it's better to be on a journey with 2, but there's always a bit of a fight. Lots of partnerships break up, and I think that's generally because no one person has overall charge, and you do. I think you need that. So,
what do you think is the worst fight you guys have had during the business?
The worst fight?
Yeah.
There's been quite a lot, but I don't.
There haven't actually been that many.
None of them actually stand out as like the worst. I think we come to the conclusion that both of us are actually not fighting each other. We're fighting the issue. So we're trying to come to a conclusion together. And that's what we try and remember when we're disagreeing about something. We're all trying to work towards a common goal.
Yeah, and I also think once the dust settles, and I think our youngsters do think quicker, without a doubt, and they can come up with a solution and an answer quicker, whereas I'd rather think about it overnight, and I'll wake up the next morning and think, had a bit of an argument yesterday, can't remember what that was about, couldn't have been that important, everything's sorted now. So it's all about that, isn't it? In hindsight, they're not that important, but at the time they can be feel more important.
Yeah, and building on that, sometimes they are very important, and it's important to have disagreements because otherwise you don't always see the other side. And that's what Dad brings, that slightly older, experienced approach, and I bring the more innovative, young approach, and it works well together.
Yeah, and now you're doing this more or less full time, right? Because you've got other projects you do on the side too, but you don't take on as many clients as you used to for the YouTube side.
Yeah, the videography, I don't take on loads of clients, but we are actually building out a consultation business at the moment. So yeah, there's that and this as well.
And what was it that made you decide, like, you're going to go all in on this for at least a while?
I think the stories that Dad has obviously resonated with so many people. That first, the 8th video we put on TikTok that got like 10 million views. Obviously, there was something in that. And we thought, well, why don't I just put all my effort and see where this can go? Like, what is the biggest risk on not doing that? Because I can always go back to my client work or consultation after that. But we've just been enjoying the ride, haven't we?
Yeah, and obviously most of this started during lockdown due to the pandemic. For me, it was extra work because I was absolutely rushed off my feet with work. I was working 6 o'clock in the morning till 9 at night, and then coming home and Curtis saying, "Oh, look, we've come up with an idea. Do you think you can work around this?" And we've gone, "Oh, let's go in the studio and bang, do a video." So it was quite hard for me at that time, but Curtis needed the work, so I was only on camera, whereas he was doing everything behind the scenes. In fact, he was doing too much at the time, as I equally was. And since you've realised the worth of having a good team, haven't you?
Yeah, that's the thing. When I get my teeth into something, I don't want to stop. I want to, be the best at that thing, and that stems back from when I used to swim competitively. And yeah, so now we've got a team. It's a lot less stress on both of us, really. Yeah. And now we can share the workload. It's actually more fun working together.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people who are listening, who are trying to build their own businesses, it's the same problem of you think you're going to make the best decisions, and then you end up putting too much pressure on yourself. And if you've got no time, you're not going to make good decisions because of that. So sometimes it's letting go and working out how to hire people and hire the right people.
And hire people better than you as well.
Yeah, because obviously you've got Sam and Kai, and then you've hired people for Model World as well, even before that. What are the key things you look for when you're hiring?
Well, it's really specialists in the area that you want to fill. So if you look at my model business, for example, I don't personally know a lot about radio controlled trucks. I know what they look like. I can sell you one if you want me to, but I can't go into the detail that sells all the extra bits that make a really good sell. Whereas one of my staff is particularly good at that, and then I'll have another member of staff that's particularly good at model railways. And again, you think, well, model railways just go around in a circle, but it's a lot more complicated than that. So you can scratch the surface of anything because you can become 80% certainly as good as any expert if you want to. In fact, you can probably become better than that, but you'd have to invest so much time that you'll be neglecting everything else. So it's better to hire someone in that's already expert in that area. They might not be much good at anything else. It could be the case, but they're very good in their specialist area. So they're worth that much more to be employed and to make your team better.
Yeah, for this business, I look for 2 things: versatility, because they need to change their role all the time. If we're working on a YouTube short versus a long form video, or we need to go out and about and film some things, you just need to have the ability to jump from one to the other to task. And that's something not everyone has. But I'm feeling like the younger generation has that a little bit more now because they expect to work. I think that's the case though, because older people sometimes get stuck in their ways. And they get used to doing the same job. And you used to, have a career path and the same job forever. Whereas now people expect to jump from one to the other. So they are more versatile. And the second is trust. Like, you've got to trust the people that you're hiring above everything.
And I've got exactly the same problem you guys have in terms of my business is constantly changing all the time. So if I hire somebody, for something I'm doing right now, I'm actually doing 10 other things or 20 other things at the same time. So what I really want is somebody who's going to just have that like passion and motivation to try and learn whatever I'm doing and to be better at it than I am. Because there's no point if I have to keep telling them what to do for every little moment. It takes me forever.
You might as well do it yourself at that stage, yeah.
Whereas the people you've got like on board, they're challenging you, right? And that's what you want. And it's hard for some people to swallow that you actually need somebody who's better than you because they can tell you, actually, you should be doing that instead. But that's so freeing because you have one less decision to make. And I think a lot of people, when they first start working with themselves, they don't quite understand how many decisions there are to make and how stressful that becomes as well. Because everyone likes the idea of freedom, but with the freedom comes all responsibility. And I don't think enough people maybe realize that before they start working for themselves.
Yeah.
Did you find that ever like overwhelming at any point?
Well, I think if you're not prepared to bring a team on board, my personal view is you're making a prison for yourself. You know, you might as well work for someone else because it would certainly be easier and you might even make more money working for someone else.
And at least you get a holiday.
Exactly that, or paid holiday. Yeah. But when you bring a team on board, it's certainly a case, and I've said this on multiple podcasts, you know, when you start a business, you're probably wearing 20 odd hats. You know, you're the janitor, you're the salesperson, you're the strategist, you're everything. And it is your job to get rid of those hats as quickly as you can. And if you can employ someone that can take on 6, wow, you've just employed a great employee there. And then his job will be, as you grow, to start distributing those hats to better people than he is. And if it works right, you get a great team. Obviously, there is the occasion you can pick a bad apple, and I've had that within my time, that's for sure. And it only takes one to bring a team down on their morale. So it's quite important. And someone said to me just recently, and I should have listened to this earlier, the right time to get rid of someone is the moment you think, should I get rid of someone? Because you know at that point, and the less damage is done. But generally speaking, I've had good teams all the way through my business life. And certainly we've got a great team here on YouTube and social media, haven't we?
And that's not just because they're listening in off screen.
Yes, it is.
Do you have ambitions to hire more people for the team in the future? Like, what's the roadmap that you see the channel going? Maybe not. It's not the next 2 months, but maybe the next 2 years. Where do you see this going to?
Yeah, I kind of liked how it is at the moment, because when you start hiring so many people, I think past 10, it doesn't become as fun as it is at the moment. We're all in the office together, 4 of us when you're here as well, working on script ideas and everything. And yeah, it's just a fun collaborative process. And when you hire more people, you then have to get HR, don't you? And then think about all of those issues that come with that. So yeah, I don't see us getting more employees in anytime soon. But maybe if we start building out other revenue sources in the future. So I guess we'll take it as it comes.
Yeah, everything's evolving, isn't it? I mean, if an opportunity came our way that needed 2, 3, 4 more employees tomorrow, then we'd be looking for them. You know, simple as that. I'm never afraid to employ when I need to employ, and nor's Curtis now, but it is certainly a lesson you need to learn fairly early on in your stage of being an entrepreneur or a business owner or someone with a side hustle that's taken off. I mean, it might be that you're doing a simple side hustle. You don't really want to make it a full-time business, but that's getting too much for you. So then you can start roping in mum, dad, sister, brother. That's all like employing, and it just gives you a taster towards how you can get on if you decide to turn that into a business. It's very important to get that team around you to support you.
Yeah, and I know you guys are really focusing on the podcast at the moment and building that out. How have you found that? Because what do you enjoy the most? Is the live podcast, or is it more the scripted YouTube side?
I don't think I'd be able to say I love the scripted YouTube side. But what I do like is the response.
The process of filming it.
No, I like the response. Yeah. That's what I like. And when you get people in the comments that you tell you how it's affected them, or ones they've watched previously and they're watching more because they want to learn more, I think that's fantastic. And that's why I'd like schools to teach, you know, at least basic personal finance before you leave school, because the one sure thing you're going to do when you leave school or go on to university is you're going to need to handle money, be it a student loan or an apprenticeship or whatever way you're going to earn money. You need to know how to handle that right before you get a credit card and bang yourself into a ton of debt. You know, it's not difficult stuff. It just needs to be taught early so it's in there.
Yeah, that's the glue that sticks all of our stuff together. The fact that school doesn't teach the finance that they need to. With our podcast, we talk to interesting people. We get that across with Dad's stories on the main channel. And on TikTok, it's just easily digestible information in short format that anyone can enjoy.
Yeah, and looking at school, what you just mentioned there as well, do you think in many ways people are set up to fail?
Yeah, I think 100%. Yeah. I mean, the teachers, they've been taught by the same system that they're teaching in. So it's not their fault, okay? Yet the parents have been taught in the same system you're being taught in. So it's not their fault. The grandparents, it goes all the way back to the 1900s when all this system started. So it only takes one person in that family group to break that cycle and go, actually, there's more to all this money than we think. It's not just about earning enough to spend to be able to get by and just be comfortable or just scrape a living. There's so much more there. And when that one person in the family does that and strikes it big, that's the way to, get them out there.
Yeah. When you see like a 23-year-old in a Lamborghini, you don't think, oh, he must have worked really hard at school. You think, well, he's obviously done something different, has broken the mold in some way.
Yeah, and even looking at that, so it's not just school, right? There's other areas as well that life where it doesn't necessarily set you up for a career, well, being an entrepreneur and doing your own business. Because I remember even for myself, when I went down this route, it was terrifying to quit my job, leave the corporate world. And I learned a lot of podcasts like what I'm doing now and like podcasts like yours to try and get the information. But it shouldn't be through podcasts that we have to learn this. It should be, like I said, through school or through other methods. And we look at how the average person, right? The average person might not know as much about entrepreneurship as we did. So you were lucky that you had like your dad was
100%.
in business,
and my
like
granddad.
Yeah. Then you had a mentor as well. I remember you saying.
Yeah, I did.
He did a lot
Dave,
for you.
yeah, he did loads. He didn't even know he was doing it for me. I'm sure to this day he did not know. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But the things he taught me or the inspiration he gave me was fantastic. And I think, he could see in me that there was something that needed to get out and go and, be me. And I think school does the opposite. It goes, he's a bit unusual, being tall, ginger, lanky, obviously very, very unusual. But in the way I was unusual. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs or people that go into business are a little bit unusual. And let's teach the teachers to notice that and give them a pat on the head and go, okay, you might not be great at English. You may not be great at whatever it happens to be, but you've got something there. Hang on to that because that's a little bit different, and it's the people with a little bit different that do very, very well.
Yeah, what you said there really resonates with me. Actually, the one thing I didn't want to be is normal at school. So whenever they ask everyone going around like, what do you want to be when you're older, I always used to say Olympic swimmer because I wanted to be a bit different. Like no one else is going to say that. And I think some people had that feeling that they want to be normal, they want to fit in. But it's actually rebelling against that actually gets you where you want to be in life.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things we all have in common as well is we mentioned about this obsessive personality in a while, where wherever we try, we want to be really good at it. So I had that with like karate background and the dancing background. You had it with swimming and you had it with flying model airplanes.
And racing cars.
And racing cars, yeah. Can you tell us more about that? Like how do you think that competitive aspect really helped you in business?
Well, it definitely helped me in business. I mean, in social life and family life, it was probably not a good thing because you become so absorbed in what you're doing that nothing else matters.
It's tunnel vision, isn't it?
Total tunnel vision. That's the problem with it. But the flip side is when you apply that to a business where you try to be better than the competition, try and do something a bit different. I mean, let's face it, I didn't invent the wheel. I might have put a few different spokes into the business model that I went into to make it stand out from the rest. It's not rocket science, but as long as you're the best you can be at it, you should succeed. You don't have to invent something new, do you?
Yeah, so I used to try, with the swimming and the competitiveness, I used to try lots of different angles to get better and increase my PBs. I used to go to a nutritionist, psychologist. I even started visualizing my races, anything I could to get that extra edge. And then I'm using all of those skills in my business now. So anything we can outthink the competition with or do something a little bit different, I'm right on it. And that's really useful, I think, having that really competitive nature, obsessive competitive nature.
I think people as well, they have in their heads that they're not entrepreneurial or they can't be in business. But if you look at that, swimming, martial arts, racing, they're not necessarily things you associate with business, but those same skills really transfer and apply very well into business.
Yeah, and a lot of that, the problem with a lot of that is this losing culture, not being a winner. And I think that anyone that has a go at something is a winner. Anyone. And I used to, when I was competing in model helicopters, you'd have a new person come along, and the most common comment from a new person competing was, "Oh, someone's got to come last. I suppose it's me." And I'd always say, you haven't come last. You know, there's thousands of model helicopter flyers in this country, and you were brave enough to stand up and give it a go. And next time, try and beat the percentage. Even if you come last, you're not last. You've improved your percentage. You're improving. You're getting better. And the first competition I started, I didn't actually come last. I came second to last. And it didn't put me off. It didn't put me off at all. But other people get put off by this so-called fail culture. And really, it should be lesson culture. You've learnt a really good lesson. Now move on with that and learn another one and move on with that. And that's what I think is lacking.
I wish you said that to me back in the day, because when I came second, I was the first loser. No, well, there is something in not giving trophies to everyone that competes, because otherwise, you don't learn the value in winning. But I do get what you're saying. Taking part is also very important.
The way I like to think of it as well is like, just by being at the championships, you're already in the top 1%.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is that we often compare ourselves to people who are ahead of us all the time.
Yeah.
Without also appreciating that we're actually way ahead of a lot of other people. If you just start your business, there's so many other people out there in the world who wanted to start a business who didn't have the courage to do so. So even just taking that first step means you're way ahead of all of those people.
Yeah.
And maybe you aren't where you want to be. You're not Elon Musk yet. But that's okay, because you can work towards that. But you can't do that until you've started.
Yeah, and I think also there's a problem with business in so much as that school will teach you need a business degree. You need you need to know all the things about the business you're going into, which is absolute rubbish. What you need to do is have a vision that's what you want to do and get on and do it. And we were talking earlier about when I started my business, I wanted to start a model shop. That's it. So I started a model shop. What do you mean we got to apply for VAT? What do you mean we got to do books? What do you mean I've got to pay in 30? What's all this? But you learn it. Within 3 months, I'd learned 80% of what I needed to learn about running that business. Then got tripped up by a little VAT problem. Wasn't major. We weren't putting the money through from the coffee machine that we had. So they picked up on that. And it was rubbish, really. But, you learn all these things as you go through. If you learn it on the job, I tell you, it's a proper lesson. It's not a school lesson that really isn't relevant now. Don't be afraid of going into business or starting a side hustle is what I say. Get in there, do what you can, do the best you can. The chances are you'll do well.
I think learning too much before you actually jump in can put you off as well, and you can be scared. The more I've done my business, the more I've actually realised I don't know. And maybe if I was going to start again now, it'd be so much more daunting, because I'm like, right, I've got to get over this, I've got to learn this, and all of these things in my path that I couldn't see when I first started because I was so naive to it.
And to be honest, I'm 54 now. And I still will say to this day, the more I learn, the more I read, the more I absorb, the less I know. Because I know there's more I don't know, and there's more I want to know. And people that shut themselves off at the minute they leave from school and go, well, I'm going to be this or I'm going to do that. You've got so many more years of growth. Just allow yourself to learn.
And I think that's quite rare for someone your age to still want to learn, which is great. That was a backhanded compliment. No, but it is, and I think that's why people really resonate with you on YouTube, because they're like, wow, this boomer, I know you're technically not a boomer, but that's what they call him on YouTube. Yeah. He's down with the kids. He understands the lingo and he's keeping up with everything, and part of that's because you've got a young son helping you out.
Yeah, but
you do learn.
Lots of my friends wish they were younger. Then they could be part of everything. And I say to them, well, you can be part of it. The trouble is, you shut yourself off from technology or new things 5 years ago. I've got a friend who's, how old is he? About 10 years younger than me. who won't even do online banking. No, I'm not doing that. It's not safe. I'm not going to. You've got a long time to live without doing any, and that's not where that's where it's starting. You've got to keep up with the technology, and the technology's fun, isn't it? It might take me a little bit longer to learn it, or I might have to go to Curtis. Hey, Curtis, oh yeah, that's it. I remember that now. Learn it, because as soon as you stop learning it, you're left behind.
And there's so much to catch up on, isn't there?
Oh,
if you stop.
You won't, will you? I think you'd struggle.
Yeah, I saw this really cool analogy with someone. Those airport where you go along, it makes you, what is it, like an airport escalator thing?
Travelator.
Oh, yeah. Just, I don't know the name of it, but yeah, you just walk along it. And it was a really cool analogy, because it's like, if you stay still, you just move backwards. But you have to hustle and run. I think it was a Casey Neistat video. Maybe you can pop it up on screen. But it was a really cool analogy anyway.
With the whole thing about not knowing enough when you get started, you've got two options, right? You can either let that cripple you, or you can actually be really excited by that.
Yeah.
Where you can say, oh, I don't know anything about this new thing, but that means I get to learn again. And for me, I started off this business with the writing side of things. And I was getting good at that, but then it also was like, I need a new challenge. And that's where the podcast came in. And I didn't know anything about podcasting. I never thought I'd ever make a podcast. But then by doing it, I'm learning. And it's a new challenge. So, like, at the beginning, I sucked. I think everybody will suck at the beginning, right? But then you can get better. And then now I've come a long way since then. And it's up to you about how you frame that in your own mind. And with the karate analogy, you are somebody who's like a year into their training. Like, what do you rate yourself out of 10? And they might say 7 out of 10. You ask them 10 years into their training, they say I'm a 2 out of 10 now. Because they just know how much they don't know. Their perception of change, like, oh, at the time when you're new, you think, oh yeah, I'm really good, I'm learning. But it's because you don't know what you don't know. And it's like you said, with YouTube now, even though you've got so far with the TikTok and everything like that, you're also hyper aware of all the things you can improve. And they either, like you said, it either cripples you or it excites you. Yeah. And that's the question you've got to ask yourself.
The only way I disagree with that, though, and there's only one slight disagreement with that, and I don't want to disagree with you, but if you ask Curtis how good a skier he was, he'd say he's Olympic standard. So.
No, I just say that. No, we have a real competitive nature between the two of us, as you probably can guess, and we try and beat each other. But yeah, we were going Olympic speeds, to be
we
fair.
were 70 mile an hour plus, weren't we?
Not exactly down a downhill race track.
Which is absolutely mental for a 54-year-old.
Well, I was going slightly faster.
Just about 2 mile an hour.
Do you use that competitiveness much within your business? So to try and egg you to get further and further? Do you compete at all?
I don't think so. I think what happens with the competitiveness that I read from Curtis's side is when I make a suggestion, because he's competitive, he thinks I'm competitive about that suggestion. Whereas I'm quite happy to put a suggestion forward, as I do at work, and we might have 5 of us sitting around coming up with suggestions, and I like to consider all and come up with an answer, and I'm not worried if mine's not used or theirs isn't used. But I think the competitive side, perhaps, of Curtis thinks I'm more competitive about my idea than I actually am. Sometimes.
Yeah, I just like you to see the reasoning behind the idea I'm taking forward. And I like to get that understanding. And yeah, I mean, when we got that, it's completely fine. But sometimes it takes a while to get to that stage.
Yeah.
And I like to understand your ideas as well. And you have to just get that across to me. Sometimes it's a bit hard, that communication.
Yeah.
But it works most of the time.
Yeah, eventually.
How about other YouTubers and other TikTokers? Do you have people who maybe they know it or they don't know it, but you're kind of competing against them? You're like, oh, can we get to this amount of followers before them? Or do you set yourself targets in that way?
No.
We used to on TikTok, but we did.
I didn't.
I did. I was like, right, we're going to pass. Gary Vee was one of them at one point, and we passed him on TikTok. Now he's passed us again. So we could run down that route again of chasing people. But I think now we're trying to improve our message and our quality content. So now we're trying to do at least 4 uploads on the main channel, get 1 podcast a week, and really looking at how we can improve in those areas rather than having those external goals of beating people. Because if they're not doing very well either at the same time, like you're just competing against someone that's not doing very well, and you're not going to improve yourself as much as if you just really focus on your own stuff.
I think focusing on the quality of your product, be it our relationship with this business or with my other businesses, that is the key. Again, I think I said it earlier, be the best you can at what you do. That's the best you can do. You can't do more than that. And if that's better than someone else on numbers, great. If that earns you more money than someone else, great on numbers. But realistically, it's how happy you are with what you're doing and how near to being the best you can be.
Yeah, and we're trying to lean into that more blue ocean strategy. So technically, can anyone compete on this certain video that we're making? And lots of it is story based. So no one has the same stories as Dad. Like you can't compare one to one. So that's where we're going down. So that way there's no direct competitors. It's just our own content.
And how do you think you have improved your quality over the last year or so? What's the big changes you've made that you think are really bearing fruit?
I think reading lots, because I do read a lot. That helps because obviously it's an ever-changing thing. I mean, crypto really wasn't a thing that long ago. So, I've got to keep up with all of that. I think our equipment is a big change because when we started, it was literally, let's see how this thing goes with one camera and a couple of bits and bobs. So I think the quality of the product just is an always increasing thing. That's what I'd say anyway.
One thing I like that we've implemented recently is actually going to locations and filming on the location for the main channel videos. So if Dad has a story from his past, well, let's go to the house that he used to look at when he was a kid, when he was walking past. Let's go to the place he met his mentor. Let's make those things really real and tangible in the videos. And we're seeing great progress with that kind of documentary filmmaking. And even with our podcast, we're getting better at speaking. We're getting better at asking questions, diving deeper, not just on the surface level. So it's all these different things we're thinking about in order to deliver a better video to our viewers.
Is there any ideas you have in the future beyond the video side of things? Because obviously a lot of this was built during the pandemic when everything was online. Have you got any ideas about other products or things you'd like to build in the future to expand?
At the moment, I'm somewhat restricted because obviously my businesses take up a certain amount of my time. I know Curtis is working on quite a few things behind the scenes, which he's got time to do. There are lots of things I could do, but at the moment, it's very difficult for me to do them. But there are lots of ideas, and
should I mention the big project that we're working on?
Go on, then. I'll let you.
I know it was a leading question. We are
Never.
We are working on a book, believe it or not, behind the scenes. So yeah, that's very exciting, and it's all in line with our mission that ties everything together. So that's all the tips all the clues I'm given at the moment. And yeah, we're very excited about that coming out in the future.
And of course, it's hard work as well. As we said before, I left school with virtually zero qualifications. So English was one of my worst subjects. So writing a book is quite a difficult thing. But with a good team, it's an enjoyable experience, and it's another learning experience as well. And how a book needs to be structured. I mean, I thought you went, well, in the beginning, and that's the middle, and that's the end. And the structure behind it. And again, a lot of the guys watching this probably won't. It's hard to articulate how the structure works without going into it totally. But having all those chapters titled and then thinking about each one, it's a very interesting process. Very interesting, isn't it?
It's a lot like we
totally
write the
different
scripts.
To what I thought.
Yeah, so we're kind of filling in the blanks versus just writing everything and it kind of tailing off into nowhere. So we have that clear structure to begin with. So it's an exciting project.
Yeah, you mentioned you're both dyslexic as well. So was writing a book something you ever wanted to do? Because I know a lot of people I talk to, they know I'm a writer. They say, I've always wanted to write a book. But they don't have a topic. They don't have, it's just the idea they think is a cool thing to do. Whereas yours, because the mission you built up through TikTok and through your YouTube, I'm guessing it's going to be related to the same thing about helping people to understand their personal finance. Or can you reveal any of that about what the idea of the book is, or we're keeping that under wraps at the moment?
I would say spell checker on a computer has been the best invention for dyslexia ever. So that's a thing that makes it possible as well, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I did always want to write a book. Back in the day, it was more fiction rather than non-fiction. But I remember writing a fiction book and then telling all my mates in the playground when I was like 7 that it was published. I had a publisher and no one believed me. But yeah, it was a dream that I wanted to do that eventually. And it's great that it's all come full circle and we can get our same message that we're sharing on all these other platforms into a new medium. So that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and obviously you're now experts in storytelling because of all the work you've done. What do you think people often get wrong when they try to tell their stories? Whether it's through TikTok, whether it's through YouTube, whatever medium they're using, you must see a lot of people go down the wrong path, and what are some of the mistakes they need to fix?
I mean, obviously, Curtis is the expert on this, but personally, I would say from what I watch is they're too self-indulgent. They just want to do their own thing that entertains them.
Selfish content.
That, and I just switch off, and I think a lot of people do. That's why they don't get the views. And I think our content is very much towards what we've mentioned before, trying to improve other people's lives, giving back what my mentor gave me. He didn't ask for anything for it. We're giving it out freely. Okay, the book, you have to buy the book, of course, but I would hope that from that, whatever price it be, you earn a fortune off the back of it. Hopefully, that's the plan, or you'll increase, you make your life better. And that's what the mission has always been about. It's not been about, let's tell my stories. It's been about how those stories, came to an end conclusion and a lesson was learned, which means you don't have to go down that route. You can learn that part of my life that will help you if you take that on board, or it might not. Take what you want from it. That's the idea.
Yeah, some people also get caught up in telling the story exactly how it happened, versus taking out some of the unnecessary facts and just having like the bare bones of the story and the core emotional aspects of it. Otherwise, you just get bogged down in detail and you're like, where is this going? So yeah, that's what I see on TikTok, on YouTube. So you just need a clear hook and build that action to a resolution at the end. And it couldn't be simpler, but yeah, it's hard to do it.
And I think you summed it up once, didn't you? Like you got to throw out your babies or something.
Kill your darlings.
Yeah, kill your darlings. Similar thing, isn't it?
Glad you didn't do that to me.
Yeah, exactly. But obviously you've got your video that you've made. You think, oh, that's brilliant. That's fantastic. And then to edit it well is to throw half of it away, or 50, 60% of it away, to get the good product.
Yeah, it's really focusing on retention. So it's really hard, but you have to put your mind into the audience's shoes and how are they going to view this video if they don't know you? Where are they going to maybe look at another video, swipe off, and try and fix those areas? Mr. Beast does it so well.
I was just going to mention him.
Yeah.
I mean, Mr. Beast does such a good job. You watch one of his videos, you are retained. And the thing is, it's worth retaining people, because if you've got important information all the way through that video, you want people to pick up on the bit that's of interest to them, or if not all of it, hopefully, so they don't miss anything. So keeping that retention is very important.
And something we've learned as well is to put your best stuff up front with everything we do. We try and lead with the best, because otherwise people don't know that it's in there and they don't have the time to dedicate to that piece of content. That it's a fast moving world, and if it's not going to help them, they're probably just going to bounce.
Yeah, I mean, just mine, because it's exactly the same advice I give for people writing articles. Because sometimes they get, like on Entrepreneur, let's say they've made a company that's worth 50 million, 100 million. And that's a really interesting story. But the story they send in will be a 30-minute read, and it'll be like 20,000 words. It's like, you've got really interesting stories in here, but nobody's going to read through like for 10 minutes to find the interesting nugget. So you've got to really break it up, front load it, as you said. And I think a lot of people have this idea that if you leave the good information till later on in the article, then people have to read there. Or if it's with a YouTube video, people have to watch all of that to get there. But the thing is, people have another choice. They can just press back. They can go and do something else instead. And I think that's a point that so many people miss, especially with content. If people, like your first line or your first second of the video, if that's not as good, people aren't going to carry on to the next second.
And that's where you lose the most people in the first couple of lines or the first seconds of a TikTok, and you need to get that retention. Because if you retain them at the start, it's going to follow through in the video as well.
And also, you've only got to look at newspapers and the news and things like that. They don't lead with, and finally. They lead with, bam, this happened today. Bam, this happened today. Boom, bam, that happened. Right, let's go into it.
Yeah.
And you've got to have that, I think, because you've got to know what you're watching, haven't you?
Yeah, I like that analogy. Can you imagine if newspapers put the headlines like halfway through the newspaper?
What's the point?
Like, I can't imagine any newspaper doing well, because they'll be competing with other newspapers where one has a front page of all the headlines, and then you have the middle stories that nobody really cares about.
Yeah.
And this is exactly the same thing, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, whoever it is. You've got to be like a newspaper in many ways.
Yeah, and have a niche. I think a lot of people struggle with picking a few things out of their personality to focus on versus everything. And no one's going to be interested in everything you're interested in. So you just, pick your audience, pick a niche, and then just focus down on those things. You can do your hobbies in your spare time, but people just want everything to be involved, which becomes the issue when you're trying to build a brand.
And likewise, I would like to do more business-related content as well. But really, the overall interest, there's an interest there, isn't it?
And side hustles,
yeah. But the actual physical going into business, the bit that people are afraid of, there doesn't seem as much interest in. So that, going back to your earlier question, that might be something I focus more on in the future as well. And we'll try and do that maybe in a different way via marktilbury.com or something like that.
You've done some strategy calls with different business owners, haven't you? There's this one fellow in Australia that you helped out really
He's
quite a lot.
So well. So, but the funny thing is, when you do strategy calls, most people know the answer to the question they're asking. They know it. They want it confirmed. And what he knew was 80% of his time was spent on 20% of his profit creation, and he just needed me to spell that out to him. And he switched his model right round.
It's like a light bulb moment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was great.
It's that overwhelming decision making that we were talking about earlier. Is that because it's so hard to make some of these big decisions, when somebody else is agreeing with you and telling you that you're doing the right thing, it just takes that load off you because it's not as much of your responsibility.
Yeah.
Whereas when it's you make the decision, if it goes wrong, then at least he can point to if it went wrong for him, it's like, oh, but Mark told me to do it. So it was a good idea. I might have messed up. I didn't do it quite right. But at least it wasn't just me. I wasn't being crazy. Somebody else helped me out there.
Yeah, it can be that. But I mean, he knew where his problems were, but he was just afraid to change it up, I think.
But sometimes it's also very hard to see the issues in your business when you're in it.
Yeah, you're absorbed, aren't you?
Yeah, you need someone looking in and actually, oh yeah, that's what you need to fix, and that, and then, and oh yeah, of course it makes sense when you say it, but you just can't see it when you're in the moment.
Yeah, and the same thing with content, right? Is that sometimes you'll make a video and you think, oh, this story is really interesting. But if you actually show it to other people, they're like, no, you can cut that. Like,
and
nobody
because you
cares
know all
about
the
that.
subtext, and you know everything you're trying to get across. Whereas the person that's watching it fresh doesn't know anything. Dad was my biggest critic when I was growing up, which actually helped because I always showed you videos and Mum, and you'd give your honest thoughts, which is quite rare in parents, I would say. And it helped me progress. And now I'm probably harsher than they are.
And he used to criticise me back for, he used to do magic tricks. And if I could see how, I mean, I knew how he was doing the majority of his tricks, you know, so I don't mind watching a trick, but if I can see how you're doing it, then that's not done well.
But let's preface this. You actually know how professional magicians do their tricks. When we go to Florida, he'll know how the guy there's doing the trick. So he is quite a harsh critic.
Yeah, because I shouldn't be able to see you doing the trick.
Yeah.
You know, if you're really good. And that's why he got good at doing his tricks, and then he started doing kids' parties at one stage, didn't you? Only when he was young, at young kids' parties. But, yeah, he was very good. But it takes a while. And if parents turn around and say, oh, you're brilliant. Well, the progression stops there, doesn't it? I'm already brilliant. Why do I need to get any better? Why do I need to improve? I am brilliant. My dad told me so. Watch my trick. Oh, Daddy made me cry because he said I wasn't good. Well, you never got that from anyone else. You know,
I never cried from anyone.
By the time you went and did it in front of people, you were that good that people couldn't see what you're doing. You know, and I think that honesty, it's very hard as a parent. I can tell you that for nothing because we got into a few arguments over that.
I'd always argue with you, but in the end, I would, even if it was a video edit, I would sneakily just go and change the video in different areas, even though I'd argue with him about it.
Yeah. And I think it's that thing as well about sometimes people think they're being nice by complimenting you or sharing your stuff, but if you don't actually enjoy it, and I think I've always said this to people in the content space, is that if you're just forcing your friends to share it, whether or not they enjoy it, then you're getting shares, yes, but it doesn't actually matter because what you should be doing is working out how do I make it so they want to share themselves rather than because they're only sharing it because they'll feel like I'm going to have a go at them if they don't.
Yeah, because it would only reach your friends, won't it? It won't go past that circle. And if you actually make them want to share it, will go everywhere.
The point in a real share is not that.
Yeah. And like coming back to your core audience there, obviously you've got millions of people who've shared your content organically that you don't know. I'm assuming you don't have millions of friends. You might do. It might all just be your friends that you pay to do it. But it seems very organic and it's like people are loving you from all over the world. And like people listening who maybe haven't heard your content before, what do you think the key lessons they need to know about personal finance are, especially the people who come from the same backgrounds where maybe they haven't been set up to succeed, they've been set up to fail instead? What do they need to learn to be able to become wealthy?
Well, the simple fact is they have got to learn. You know, you can't just go through life just making mistakes with money. You can make mistakes in all sorts of things, but you make mistakes with money, you're being set back all the time. So look at credit cards. Use credit cards as you should use them. Pay them off at the end of every single month. Build your credit score. It's so important, particularly nowadays when you want to go and, get a loan from a bank for a house or something like that. If you've not built a decent credit score up, well, headline news, you're not going to get a good rate on a mortgage. Learn that your money invested is great. Saving money, well, what happens with money you save? You're losing money straight away. People go, well, it's safe, it's in the bank. Well, how safe is it at the moment? At the moment, you've got an interest rate in the bank, let's say 0.5%. That would be a pretty generous sort of rate at the moment. And you've got inflation at 9%. So you're actually accepting today losing 8% of your value of your money on a yearly basis.
And I've often thought if you had the arrows up and down in your bank account for the value of your money, then it would hit home more. But because they just see that number stay the same and they don't see the underlying value of it change like you would a stock, you don't think it's as important. Like, maybe they should implement that, but then they wouldn't get as many people putting the money into the banks, would they? You'd be investing it.
So you've got people that are happy to sit there that are afraid of their money going down, accepting it's going down, but afraid to invest where it's got the chance. Yes, of course, it could go down, but it's got the chance of increasing. And overall, historically, in the right place, 7 to 8% per year. Yep, touch wood, but should do, based on historical data. Yeah. So, that's what I would rather have, without a doubt. And it's just learning all these small things along the way that set you on the right path. You need a safety net as well, without having a little bit of money behind you, which we always say 3 to 6 months, don't we, of your living expenses. The reason you need that is because when something goes wrong or you get a little catastrophe, you haven't got to pull it out of your stocks and shares or your investments. You can leave it there to grow until you really need it, or until you retire, or whatever the case may be when you want that money. You've got an emergency fund, use it. You haven't got to go to a payday loan. You've got the money there. You can buy the item you need, get the thing repaired you need repaired, then build it straight back up as quickly as you can. Then start putting more into your investments. It's all these little things that they're brilliant. They're brilliant tools. An ISA in the UK, we talk about that a lot.
Yeah. And a Roth IRA in the US.
It is so powerful that they limit you to 20 grand a year. People may say, well, I ain't got 20 grand a year to put in. Well, you don't have to. You can put as much as you want in there, but it's tax free. Tax free. Where'd you get tax free legally?
Yeah.
It's a legal loophole that everyone can. It's not even a loophole.
Yeah, it's just accepted.
It's an accepted thing. Get on it.
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake we see a lot of people make is putting all their money into a risky asset, like some kind of like Dogecoin or Shiba Inu. This is going to take me to the moon. But instead of investing long term into a broad index fund within an ISA or a Roth IRA, which is obviously the right way to do it, as well as investing in yourself. So many people I talk to have some kind of business or side hustle they're building up, but they throw most of their money into a meme coin. Why are you investing in them versus yourself? Surely you should back your own abilities.
Yeah, and for example, in the studio right now, right, how much money have you invested in here and all the different things you're doing? And that's increasing your quality. And I think it's the hard thing is that people struggle to think long term, because by spending the amount of money you have, it might make you less profitable in the short term.
Yeah.
And especially I think if you're coming from a corporate job into being a creator or being an entrepreneur, you've got this mental barrier of for me, I want to make more than I was making in my day job. And revenue wise, that's fine. But then you kind of don't want to make those costs because you want to keep your status in your own little head. Whereas what I'm turning to now is I'm going to sometimes make a loss each month, but I'm doing that on purpose so that next year I can make triple what I'm making or 10 times what I'm making. But I think that's so hard for people to do. And did you ever maybe not invest early enough in yourself? Or have you always been pretty good at it? Because I know obviously you've had the good influence there, but what about with you, I guess?
Yeah, no, I would say that if you walk down the street and ask someone, if they've invested enough, I think most people, if they're honest, would say they could have done more. They certainly wouldn't say I should have done. I defy you to find someone that would say I should have invested less, because the historical data is there to show that if you had, you'd be worth a lot more. So of course, anyone, and I would say it, yeah, of course, there are things I wish I'd invested more in earlier in. I mean, it doesn't matter so much now, because, you get to a stage where you're earning a certain amount of money, and really your lifestyle is the lifestyle you want. More will not change your lifestyle. It won't change my family's lifestyle. It won't change Curtis's lifestyle. There's an amount. It's probably about 70, 80,000 a year, and you can have the same as anyone else. If you want to go to the Caribbean, shall we say, the Caribbean, for a holiday, you can go. Okay, if you're earning 70,000, 60,000, you might not be able to go first class. So someone earning 200,000 may opt for that. But the actual overall experience is similar. So you can do everything most people can do. So there is a point where you don't need more for that sake.
So would you say 70k is where enough is enough?
I like what you did there. I would say enough is enough when you are happy with your lot in life. Really, enough is never.
When's enough for you?
Enough is never really enough because of the way society gauges how you're doing, I suppose. But for me, it's if my family is content, we've got enough forever, I suppose.
But how much is enough forever?
You're being really harsh.
Monetary wise, I don't think you can put a figure on it. I think enough. It's a very hard question. I don't know where you got this question from, and it was devised as a very hard question. Enough is when you're happy. I mean, you've got to be happy. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, then that's enough. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, that enough is enough. Then I don't think monetary. I don't think it matters. I'm not. I'm struggling because it doesn't matter. Once you have a certain amount of money, that's fine. That's sorted. If you're then continuing to do something you're not enjoying for the sake of money, well, why? But if you're enjoying it and you get money because of that, great. But it's not about that sometimes, is it? And we go back to our original mission that if we can help people get, be better off and learn about personal finance at a much younger age. If I could influence schools to put it on the curriculum, that would make me a happy man for the rest of my life. If for 1 year, from 15 to 16, you had half an hour a week on personal finance in schools on the curriculum, don't have to have my name to it, just they've done it, I'll be like, that would make me really happy.
But knowing you'd find another challenge to then pursue. So yeah, maybe enough is enough when you finish that challenge, but then you get the next one and the next one. It just keeps rolling. Maybe it's not linked to money like you're saying, but purpose-led.
I don't think it's linked to money. I also don't like success being necessarily linked to money, because you can be very, very successful and not have a lot of money because you're successful in your life and in your enjoyment and your happiness and everything else, and have a wonderful family. And, that is a very successful thing, a great relationship. But unfortunately, nowadays, success generally is in a monetary term. That's how it's seen. And it's sort of a little bit sad in a way. But we all need money. And, one of our videos I think we're still working on at the moment is, why do you need £1 million invested? And I would say everyone at the age of 16, by the time they're retired, will need £1 million invested. And they're going to turn around and say, well, how am I going to get £1 million? Well, learn personal finance. Because it isn't hard from 16 to retire with at least £1 million. And to be fair, you might need a bit more than that.
Yeah, you probably would only need to contribute 100,000, and then you'd be getting the 900,000 over the course of 40 years or something, compounding. So yeah, it's not as hard as it seems. You just have to be consistent, like with anything in life.
And committed. Again, back to that, tunnel vision of, I am going to put that $3 away a week or whatever it needs to be from that age. That is, $3 a day, isn't it?
Like the price of a coffee.
Yeah, so $100 a month.
And then you can adjust that for inflation as well.
So each year, I mean, you'll get there without adjusting it, but if you adjust it for inflation, you'll be well over it. And there's no reason why people shouldn't do that, I think. So
for sure.
That was quite a long answer to one of my questions.
Yeah, you think you'd have an answer prepared for that if you've asked it 35 times.
Yeah, you would think, wouldn't you?
So I know you were just asked it yourself recently when Mark and Kai interviewed you. So
I've got a new answer.
you got a new answer?
I've got a new answer.
Okay, so
Should I go with that?
Curtis, when is enough enough?
Oh, no, sorry. I thought you were going to ask me my question.
Stumbled there.
No, I haven't been asked this
okay.
one. When is enough? Oh, no, I was asked this.
Yeah.
Enough is enough when I don't have a purpose I'm pursuing. I am very driven by a challenge. And like we were discussing earlier, you're the same as me. We pick up something, we master it, we move on and become the best we can be in that area. So enough is enough when I can't find a new challenge. And I don't think that's ever going to be the case.
So are you thinking I was going to ask you, what is the one thing you'd invest in if you'd only invest in one thing?
Yes, and I was going to say knowledge, because I remember the one thing that sparked my business was I was working as an extra in films, and I used all the money I'd saved up from working in the films, and I put it all down on an online course and learnt filmmaking and how to run a filmmaking business all from this online course. And it made sense because I got a discount on the editing software and it all became ROI positive. But that one course really changed things for me and it opened up my eyes. And now I do really value whatever knowledge I can get from anyone, even if I have to pay up front for it, because I hope it pays off in the long run.
Yeah, I remember I was the same in some ways at the beginning where I didn't ever want to pay for a course because it was an ego thing. I'm going to learn it myself. And sometimes it'd take way longer to learn it just because I was being stubborn.
Yeah.
And now I've just come to value my time so much more. So if I can learn this in 2 hours by listening to somebody and paying some money, then I'm going to do that rather than spending the next 2 months of my time on Google and trying to find all the different areas. And I think that's quite a big mental shift that I made.
Yeah.
And it's an important one to grow the business. Whereas if I kept trying to do everything myself and learn it myself, it would just take me forever.
Yeah, I think a big aspect is if a course has community built into it as well. So if you can go into a Facebook incubator group or a Discord, then it can really help because you're all, like Mr. B says, you're all learning together. So then you can progress 7 times. There's 7 people in the group, or however many people, you can progress that much quicker because you're learning from everyone else's failures as well.
Yeah. And Mark, so if you could only invest in one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
A mega yacht. No, of course not. I would say myself and knowledge. I think both those two things are great. So I echo the same, but then we're 2 peas from a pod. Or he's a pea from a pod. Whatever way you want to look at it.
Is it P from your pod, I guess?
I don't know. He's a sparkle in my eye. We're made from the same genes. There you go.
I don't know where to go from there, to be honest with you.
So I guess on that note,
Yeah.
it's been a pleasure to chat to you guys today. Where can people hear more from you if they're not familiar with you yet, or where should they go to learn more about what you're up to?
Yeah, so Mark Tilbury on all the platforms. We've got it on everything now. MarkTilbury.com as well.
Yeah.
And I'm Curtis Tilbury on everything. So pretty simple.
And don't forget to look out for that book. Hey, and strike it big.